Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Absolute Resonance Part 30 based on novel. So let's start. The gaunt man who had appeared behind the boy was enough to send a chill down Jiu's Beishuan's spine. He could sense that this grip was deadly. The man was like a viper poised to strike, his entire body's resonant power lurking right under his palm on Jiu's Beishuan's wrist. This was definitely an incredibly strong opponent. At least a heavenly dipper general. Could this be the boy's bodyguard? What on earth was his status? Any heavenly dipper general expert would be highly esteemed even within House Jews. They would serve his father directly and were beyond even Jiu's Beishuan's own protection. And this little boy had such a mighty protector? While he was still shaking in fear, the pale man let go of him. "If my young master has bid for something, of course it will be paid for," he said calmly. Li Luo was a little wide-eyed himself. There were really many crouching tigers and hidden dragons here in Xia City. A casual stroll, and already he had snarled up one. The pale man seemed to possess an uncanny ability to make himself unremarkable, but Li Luo remembered him. This man had been sitting nearby for a while. He had been with them from the start. Clearly, those bodyguards from before were just for show. This was the real protector, an ever-present shadow. He had not appeared before to avoid hindering the boy's fun. Perhaps the entire water shadow art exchange had also been witnessed by this man. Li Luo coughed in embarrassment. Jiu's Beishuan hastily stepped back, an uneasy look on his face. Beside him, Ning Zhao had sensed danger from this man as well. From behind, a Golden Dragon Bank staff member rushed out breathlessly. "I'm sorry for interrupting you, Your Eminences. President Yu has just said that these ingredients will not be charged. She just hopes that everyone can have a good time." A staff member respectfully offered the 4 materials to the kid. He blinked twice and then shook his head disinterestedly. "But Sis said we can't take others' things for free. I don't want them anymore." "You can have them," he said to Li Luo before dissolving into another fit of coughing. His face grew even paler. "Young master, let us return." The pale man bowed. The boy could only nod regretfully, turning to follow him out. After they left, the tension in the atmosphere eased. Li Luo looked at the rare materials and turned to Lu Qing'e. "What should we do with these? My mom said they are free." Lu Qing'e smiled. Li Luo shook his head. He did not like handouts. "Go with the base price, then." She nodded, understanding. "Well then, I won't stand on ceremony." Li Luo nodded after a moment's pause. These rare materials were too important to him to pass up. Jiu's Beishuan watched all this with a grim face. "Li Luo, we will meet again, many times, in the Astral Sage College. I hope you are as lucky each time," he said casually. He turned and left. Li Luo sighed. Another troublemaker in his way. The last person that forced his hand was having trouble even getting into the Astral Sage College now. Oblivious to those below, there were 2 people watching them from behind a glass screen on a higher level of the Golden Dragon Bank. They were 2 richly dressed women. One was a matron in a red skirt, her long hair neatly arranged and held together with a fish-shaped hairpin. She was a strong, beautiful woman with a charismatic air about her. She resembled Lu Qing'e in many ways, although with a more mature depth to her beauty. She was Lu Qing'e's mother, the president of the Xia Kingdom Golden Dragon Bank, Yu Hongxi. A messy squabble. "We've embarrassed ourselves before the first princess," Yu Hongxi said with an apologetic smile. Beside her was a world-class beauty. She was dressed in white, her long hair intricately dressed into a phoenix-shaped knot. She had a regal look about her that extended to her piercing eyes. Her stunning allure exuded from her every feature, from her elegant nose bridge to her lush, dark lashes and sexy lips. A woman on the tall side, her swan-like neckline could captivate one for ages, if one was not already distracted by her ample chest. If Li Luo were present, he would admit that he had finally found someone who could compare to Cai Wei. However, while Cai Wei had a more friendly presence, this woman had an air of icy authority about her that demanded respect. This woman was no common person either. Her name was Gong Huanyu, and she was the eldest princess of the Xia Kingdom's royal court, and also sister by kin to the current king. The old king had been on the decline for the last few years, while the new king was still too young to ascend to the throne. Kingdom matters were being attended to by the regent prince, and the eldest princess held responsibilities too. She was perhaps the most powerful woman in Xia Kingdom at the moment. Besides that, she was also a 4-star hall student at the Astral Sage College, a level higher than Jiang Qing'e. It was my younger brother being a nuisance. We've inconvenienced President Yu. The first princess smiled back apologetically as well. His Majesty is at that boisterous age. Playfulness is to be expected, Yu Hongxi replied lightly. The two continued chatting for a while. After some time, the first princess decided it was time to take her leave. Yu Hongxi saw her off and then looked down through the glass panel to see Li Luo and Lu Qing'e standing close together, shoulder to shoulder. She frowned a little. That kid, he looks eerily like that bastard Li Taixian. At the back door of the Golden Dragon Bank, bodyguards had already cordoned off the entire area. A golden carriage rolled to a stop, thronged by a platoon of bodyguards. The first princess stepped in to see the little boy, who was tugging away at his cheek. He pulled off an entire layer of plaster, and his face changed dramatically. Underneath, his skin was even paler, making his jet black eyes shine even more brightly than before. Sis, he exclaimed happily when she entered. The first princess regarded him sternly. You're the emperor of the Xia Kingdom, but you're still so playful. There are bodyguards around, but what if something happens to you? This little kid was the current emperor of the Xia Kingdom, Gong Jingyao. He swallowed nervously, tugging at his ear. Sis, I'm sorry. Only then did her expression soften. What happened today? His bright smile returned, and he happily told her everything. Ha ha, that Li Luo is fun. He purposely goaded me into bidding against Juice Beixian. I pretended to be fooled and played along. The first princess laughed gaily at that as well. Juice Beixian is a chip off the old block. A small mind that houses little else besides revenge. That Li Luo is quite the surprise. I thought he was sharp like Jiang Qing'e, but now it seems that he was born into intrigue and cunning. Sneaky fellow. He even swindled me out of 5,000 sky gold, the little emperor grumbled. The first princess was about to reply when she saw the boy's face suddenly turn a shade paler, his breathing becoming ragged. Bloody lines started to surface on his cheeks. Her heart raced, knowing that his old illness had triggered again. She hurriedly pulled out a bottle stowed in the carriage, looking for his medicine. It was empty. All used up. A flicker of despair rose in her phoenix-like eyes. She recalled ordering her servants to always have the medicine on hand. How useless were they? Back to the palace. Immediately, she cried out. The carriage picked up speed. She desperately held onto his hand, sending pulses of resonant power into his body to help him ease the pain. The little emperor's illness had struck him when young. Each episode was a painful and miserable experience. With no medicine on hand, he could only take the fit in full force. The bloody lines on his face began to thicken. Finally, he pulled out a bottle from his pocket in his pain. The first princess was not looking, and he started to gulp desperately. She noticed quickly and snatched the bottle out of his hands. What is this? She cried. How can you be drinking some unknown liquid? But her anger quickly evaporated. She could see that the bloody lines were already subsiding. More importantly, the little emperor's face had been scrunched tight from the pain, but it was now much more relaxed. Even the well-seasoned princess was stunned by the transformation before her. Within a charging carriage, the little emperor's face was much healthier already, the bloodlines receding. He seemed to be breathing easier as well. The little emperor took a labored breath, then delight flooded his face. So he didn't lie to me. The first princess was still looking quite cross. What is this? Who gave it to you? Li Luo, he saw that I was looking sickly and then gave this to me. He said it would ease things if I was feeling bad, the little emperor told her honestly. Sis, I didn't want to take it either, but that episode was really bad. I couldn't help it. Li Luo? She examined the bottle carefully and then poured out a drop onto her hand. She tested it. Strange, it seems to be a water source from water resonance power, but with an uncommon purity. Water resonance power indeed had healing properties, this was nothing strange. But in all these years, she had hired many water resonance experts to treat the little emperor, but to no avail. Why was Li Luo's water source effective? Of course, it had only eased the little emperor's pain a little. It was about as effective as the medicine that the little emperor was taking. No more taking unknown substances. Remember, you are the emperor of the Xia Kingdom now. We only have each other in the royal court now, sister and brother. You can't come to any harm. She stowed away the bottle. He nodded obediently and then laid down to rest. Only after he fell asleep did the first princess pull out the bottle again, regarding it with glistening eyes. Li Luo. That young lord from House Loulan is something special. Back at House Loulan's headquarters, there was a comfortable silence in the night. In a tower, Li Luo pulled out the 4 rare materials that he had purchased. He prepared to begin tempering them into his acquired resonance godly forging wheel. Suddenly, he spotted a figure flitting by the window. He smiled and pushed the window open. Jiang Qing'e was perched on a window beam, looking out at House Loulan. The two of them shared neighboring buildings, and there was a window beam that joined them. He paused, then he flipped through the window and joined her on the beam. He saw that she was clad in pajamas. The slightly loose-fitting top was not at all dowdy when she wore it. She seemed to have just finished showering, and her long hair was still damp, her eyes relaxed. She looked softer than usual, having shed some of her usual heroine demeanor. Li Luo drank it in, her figure and womanly scent. He turned to look out at the expanse of House Loulan's headquarters as well. Cute pajamas, he said. There was a slightly plump swan patterned across her pajamas, a jarring contrast that ended up being cute. She smiled softly. The mistress made it for me, she said with a hint of pride. My mother's skills are lacking indeed, Li Luo said dryly. She put a warning hand on the back of his neck, ready to chop. No insulting the mistress. Li Luo laughed. He looked up to the bright moon. Qing'e, what's the noble's war? She shuddered a little and then slumped down a bit. You will know when you enter the Astral Sage College, she finally said. There's no need for me to tell you now. Li Luo accepted that. And my parents? They are okay, right? She nodded firmly. They must be all right. I think so too. He smiled. She looked at him. Don't worry, she said softly. Even without the master and mistress around, I won't let anyone bully you. Do you think I'm a little kid? Li Luo grumbled. She laughed and tousled his hair. Oh, you're not a whittle kiddie no more. Li Luo sulked a little, but he told her about the day's events as she continued to play with his hair. Oh. She was a little shaken by his tale. According to what you say, the boy's bodyguard must at least be a heavenly dipper general. And even the Golden Dragon Bank gave him face. For President Yu Hongxi to personally declare the materials free, not even the young lords of the 5 great houses would warrant that. There's only one person in the whole Xia Kingdom who fits. It's the little emperor of the royal court. Li Luo almost fell off the beam. That little monkey is the little emperor? As the young lord of House Loulan, Li Luo was not about to fall over worshipping the royal court. Still, he was rather envious of them. Now knowing that the boy was the little emperor, his heart shrank a little. The old emperor has been on the decline for the last few years, but the new emperor is too young to take the throne. Affairs of the state have fallen to the regent and first princess. The first princess's name is Gong Luanyu. She's a 4-star hall student at the Astral Sage College, and one of the strongest in the school, Jiang Qing'e said. How do you compare? Li Luo asked curiously. The Astral Sage College is divided into 4-star halls. Each year, when you pass the exams, you will be promoted to the next hall. I'm currently in the 3-star hall, one lower than the first princess. Besides, in terms of strength, she's definitely better. Although that might not be the case in a year's time, Jiang Qing'e said with a hint of smugness. Li Luo gave her a big thumbs up. Oh, and school starts in less than 10 days' time. The most important thing for newcomers will be the choosing of the mentors. Basically, streaming the students. The Astral Sage College is divided into 3 streams. The strongest are the Violet Vibrance mentors, followed by Gold Gleam, and finally Silver Spark mentors, she continued. You must remember that mentor choice is very important. The stronger one's mentor, the more resources you get. And in the Astral Sage College, the resources are unmatched in the Xia Kingdom. So you must secure a high-ranking mentor to take you under their wing. Li Luo nodded seriously. The Astral Sage College was really something else, even sorting mentors with students. But the Violet Vibrance mentors were said to be Duke stage experts. As for how to choose a mentor, you will know in time. But let me warn you. This time there are 5 Violet Vibrance mentors, and there is one amongst them that you should never attach to. You cannot choose him as your mentor, she said very seriously. Who? Li Luo was astonished. That Violet Vibrance mentor is called Shenjin Xiao. Jiang Qing'e's loathing for the person was extremely plain to see on her face. Why? Li Luo asked, sensing that something was up. Back when I entered the Astral Sage College, he was my mentor. And then he eventually confessed his feelings to me. I hated that, and sought out the headmaster of the Astral Sage College to change mentors. Li Luo's jaw dropped. Dear Sister Qing'e, just how far do your charms extend? Even a Violet Vibrance mentor stands no chance. He might be a Violet Vibrance mentor, but I was born with a 9th grade light resonance, she said loftily. It gives me an acute sense of a person's goodness or evil. I know that person's heart. Best keep a respectful distance. Got it, she warned him soberly. Li Luo nodded. I mean, shouldn't love rivals be other excellent students? How had he managed to face off against a Violet Vibrance mentor straight away? This House Loulan plump swan. Truly a terror. After the late-night talk with Jiang Qing'e, they both returned to their rooms. But Li Luo did not retire yet. He still had an extremely important task tonight, to temper his second acquired resonance. He pulled out the jade tablet scroll and gave it a light shake to call forth the acquired resonance godly forging wheel. It was currently shining brightly from its many filled holes, lighting up like a night sky of stars. Li Luo had spent blood and sweat to bring it to where it was, tirelessly experimenting with hundreds of wood and earth rare materials. Now he was down to the final 2 holes which he was about to plug. Li Luo first took out a wood element 10,000 grade rare material. He could sense the vital power of the wood element within, wafting forth. It was definitely much stronger than the other materials he had tempered. Li Luo first divided it into several parts and then conjured up his acquired resonance flame to temper it. The first 2 parts were burned away by accident, but the third one succeeded, melting down into jade-green liquid energy. Li Luo took a deep breath and carefully tipped it into one of the holes on the wheel. As the energy entered, the entire wheel began to vibrate slightly. Finally, with Li Luo watching anxiously, a thread of light extended from the hole, linking with the surrounding holes. This one had succeeded. Li Luo was exultant. He had gone to great lengths to secure this 10,000 grade rare material, and it had lived up to his expectations. One last energy hole left. Li Luo snatched up an earth 10,000 grade rare material and continued tempering. This one was much harder to fill. He wasted a full 10,000 grade rare material, but luckily he had a second one ready. After more than half an hour, Li Luo managed to produce an archerous, yellow liquid energy and successfully fill the last hole. And now the acquired resonance godly forging wheel was finally complete. Twang! Finally, the entire wheel was shining resplendently, the network of light threads forming a complete pattern. Li Luo allowed himself a brief smile. But there was one final step. He bit his finger, drawing blood. Forming a complex pattern, he pressed his finger into the indent. Wang! Li Luo could sense his blood rapidly being sucked out of him. More importantly, there was a blinding pain that shot through his skull. It was his spirit soul being torn apart. To create an acquired resonance of one's own, one had to use their own spirit soul and blood essence as catalysts. There was no other way. The drain continued for a long time, until Li Luo felt like he was on the verge of collapsing. Suddenly, the pull vanished. Li Luo fell on his ass, his face pale and his eyes watery. He sat there for many long minutes before he finally got a grip on himself. He beat his forehead with his palm. It felt like someone had been hammering nails into his skull. Fuck, he groaned. He slowly got to his feet and saw the acquired resonance godly forging wheel before him. In the center, a viridescent light danced. Deep within it, however, he could see a ruddy, yellow light in the green. It was pulsing with life, overflowing invisible waves. Li Luo could not take his eyes off it. After a long time, he finally stretched out a trembling hand, picking up the ball of light. The moment he touched it, he could feel it resonate with his being in a blissful and smooth chord. Perfect harmony. Li Luo's second acquired resonance was a wood-earth resonance. A rush of ecstasy flooded his body. He wanted to whoop, to bellow his joy and triumph. Just as he was standing there grinning ear to ear, the acquired resonance godly forging wheel began to shudder. The shaking got stronger and stronger, until cracks started to appear. And then, with a final bang, it exploded into a shower of light. What the fuck? The grinning Li Luo leaped back as he cursed. Why had the acquired resonance godly forging wheel exploded? He reached out desperately, fruitlessly trying to hold onto some of the light bits. They winked out of existence. He was distraught. Was this his hubris? But he managed to calm down after a bit. This had nothing to do with pride. But the acquired resonance godly forging wheel could only work once. My parents' specters said that the method to get the third acquired resonance out of the acquired resonance godly forging art was in Xia City's Golden Dragon Bank headquarters. He gave an exasperated sigh. He would have to find time to go take a look, but there was no rush. He had a long road of cultivation ahead of him before he would need the third acquired resonance. Besides, the thing was probably safer in the Golden Dragon Bank headquarters than anywhere else. Li Luo pulled out a jade box and then carefully put this acquired resonance inside. He could not use it yet, he would have to reach the resonant master stage before he could temper it. But suddenly, a thought occurred to him. Back when he tempered his first acquired resonance, he had lost a great deal of lifespan and blood essence. Would the second tempering subject him to the same? Li Luo was very worried about this. It seemed like his parents had not mentioned it. Or perhaps, they did not know either? Logically, acquired resonances should exact a heavy toll on one's essence. The first time, my resonant power was weak, and so I had to pay a heavy price. Now that I have some measure of power, perhaps the toll will not be as heavy. Li Luo reasoned it out in his mind. He was sort of convinced. Good, this thing should not send him straight to the grave, hopefully. Now he just had to wait for the day of his breakthrough. He had a feeling that it would be very soon. In the next few days, Li Luo did not leave his house, cultivating hard within House Loulan's headquarters. And although Jiang Qing'e had warned him that she would not be able to buy him all 100 in one go, a modest and consistent supply of 6th-grade spirit liquids and purifying lights was making its way to him, helping him improve his 6th-grade water-light resonance. Although it was still a ways away from reaching the 7th grade, it was only a matter of time. Time ticked on, and Xia City was growing livelier by the day. Because the Astral Sage College was about to start a new year. When there were still 3 days remaining until the start of the school year, Li Luo finally managed a breakthrough. However, his first attempt at consolidating his resonance seed failed. This was nothing surprising. It was a difficult process, and Li Luo had approached it with a just try attitude. He had not even used the bitter lotus pill that the old dean had given him. But the next day, Li Luo decided to rev himself up and go for it. He entered the sky gold room. He lit some sandalwood incense, which would deepen one's connection with heaven and earth. It would help with breakthroughs. He gulped down the bitter lotus pill in one go. Let the breakthrough begin. This time around, it went without hiccups. In fact, it went so smoothly that there was actually little to get excited about. A few hours later, Li Luo succeeded. He was now at the sprouting seed tier, the first tier of the resonant master stage. Easy enough. Li Luo congratulated himself. On a whim, he decided to check the resonant palaces within him. He saw that in his water-light resonant palace, there was a little globe of light floating. And at its core, there was a little sphere of light, about the size of his thumb. The sphere of light was azure blue in color, and sounds of rushing water could be heard from it. It was not real water, but the flow of Li Luo's resonant power. And within the watery resonant power in the light sphere, there was yet another strange light, pure and brilliant. This was the resonant seed that he had consolidated. It was a water-light seed. The first tier of resonant master stage was called the sprouting seed tier. It was further divided into two sub-tiers. The first sub-tier was called the clear seed sub-tier, while the second was the flowering seed sub-tier. Each sub-tier was further divided into lower and upper classes. The clear seed tier referenced how the resonant seed would appear translucent. Because the resonant power within it was faint, it could not leave a mark on the surface of the resonant seed. These marks would dot the surface of the resonant seed. The more resonant power marks left on the seed, the stronger one's resonant power was. And when one's resonant power more or less covered the whole surface, the petal-like pattern that would appear would mark one's achievement as a flowering seed cultivator. After a certain time, the petal-like marks on the resonant seed surface would merge into an arcane pattern. This was the second tier of the resonant master stage, the pattern genesis tier. However, there was no need to think that far ahead. Li Luo had just reached the first tier of the resonant master stage, the sprouting seed tier, the clear seed sub-tier, and a lower class. He was a lower clear, for short. If he wanted to make it to the second tier, there was a long way to go. My resonant power is so much stronger. Li Luo stood up and tested his water resonance power. It was far stronger than when he was at the 10 seals stage. Evidently, there was a huge leap between the two major stages. Li Luo stretched out a hand, calling forth a sphere of water with light within. With a flick of his finger, his water-light bullet shot out against the shiny wall of the sky-gold room, bursting in a flash that lit up the room as bright as day. His water-light bullet was many times stronger than before. If someone took it head-on, they would probably be blinded for some time. Not bad. With this much power, I should be able to cope with the water source demands from headquarters. The Sun Creek Villa had been breathing down his neck recently, and if he didn't hand over some water source soon, the resonance artificers would likely start wondering if he had lied. Curbing his elation, Li Luo now turned to the treasure box on his table. It was his second acquired resonance, the Wood-Earth resonance. Now that he was at the resonant master stage, it was time to fill his second blank palace. He could not wait. He knew that the first acquired resonance merely helped him to stand on the same level as his peers, closing the gap between himself and the geniuses of his generation. Only the second acquired resonance would really help him pull away. His hand closed around the verdant, green sphere of light. It shimmered softly, the emerald glow reflected in his eyes. He had been worried about this, unsure of the price he would have to pay for this second acquired resonance. The first time, he had cut his lifespan down to 5 years. What about this time? What if he cut his lifespan down to nothing at all? Wouldn't he be screwed? The odds seemed slim, but he still had to prepare himself. He closed his eyes, holding the Wood-Earth resonance for a long time. Finally, he opened them again, his resolve set. He had already committed to this from the moment he had taken the first acquired resonance. There were many things that he had to do, and to do them required power. He wanted to maintain House Loulan on behalf of his parents. He wanted to tell Jiang Qing'e that he would be the one protecting her, and that she could rest easy. Damn, that would be seriously cool of him. Surely the plump swan would be moved by that? Plus, hadn't that plump swan just warned him 2 days ago that even Violet Vibrant's mentors were chasing her? If he wasn't at least that strong, how was he going to protect his fat, white bird? And of course, he still had to go find his parents. No risk, no reward. A resigned smile on his face, Li Luo hesitated no longer, shoving the emerald light into his mouth. Boom! Li Luo could feel it enter his body, then a roaring response of resonant power erupted within him. It was trying to repel the second acquired resonance. His first acquired resonance had sensed a foreign presence. Li Luo curbed it as much as he could, trying to guide the wood-earth resonance as best as he could to his second resonant palace. The process took a full hour. Li Luo's face was flushed and his sweat was pouring down his forehead. But he did not slack off 1 inch. Through sheer determination, he crammed the wood-earth resonance into his second resonant palace. After it entered the resonant palace, the resisting resonant power within him settled down immediately, as though it had lost its target. Before he could even sigh in relief, he suddenly sensed a powerful suction from his second resonant palace. It was sucking up his blood essence. Rapidly. An indescribable pain seized him. The second acquired resonance was ferociously devouring everything within him, and he felt himself fading away. His consciousness slipping away from him, Li Luo was completely unable to resist. As his vision slowly faded away, his body keeled over and fell to the floor. A final thought crept into his mind. Damn, am I really going to die? Li Luo struggled to open his eyes. Were his eyelids made out of lead? When he finally managed to crack them open an inch, he spotted a familiar bed frame. He breathed again. He inched his neck to the side, looking around. He spotted a Jiang Qing'e. She was leaning against the bedpost, eyes shut in rest. Still, the light was hitting her just right, making her nose bridge extra charming. Even in sleep she was beautiful. And she must have been watching over him for goodness knows how long. She seemed to sense the change in his breathing, and her eyes flew open, her golden eyes staring into Li Luo's own. Their eyes met for a long while. Jiang Qing'e broke the silence with a faint smile. Awake? Li Luo nodded, struggling to sit up. Jiang Qing'e propped him up with a pillow, her hair caressing his face as she leaned past him. It tickled. Both his face and his heart. You fainted in the sky gold room last night. Someone found you when they were cleaning. She searched his face. Ran into trouble when cultivating. Li Luo gave her an uneasy smile and then searched within his body. He could sense that his lifespan had not been further diminished, but there was a sense of hollowness that he could not explain. He must have lost something. Again he dived, this time into his second resonant palace. He could sense the green within, charged with life. In the heart of the green there was dark yellow, and the two supported each other to further sustain the energy. Li Luo knew that he had successfully tempered his second acquired resonance. However, his wood-earth resonance was extremely low quality. It was the poorest first-grade resonance possible. Still, it was normal. The fact that Li Luo could even acquire it was thanks to Li Taixian and Tan Tailan's tireless research. His success was already a miracle, and beggars could not be choosers. In any case, he could improve it endlessly with spirit liquids and purifying lights. With his current finances, he could easily raise it to a 4th or 5th grade resonance. Besides, Li Luo was pleasantly surprised to find a leafy green resonant seed in his second resonant palace as well. However, this one was only the size of a green bean, much smaller than the one in his first resonant palace. It was due to a lack of resonant power. But as Li Luo grew stronger, his second resonant seed would also grow. Li Luo marveled at it. He was liking it more and more. In this instant, he finally understood why it was said that his advantage would only truly shine once his second resonance was acquired. A resonant seed's advantage was that it could absorb energy from the cultivator's surroundings. This was a clear advantage over 10 seal stage cultivators. As for Li Luo, these dual resonances would enable him to absorb worldly natural energy much faster than anyone else. It was basically cultivation at double speed. The resonant palaces were also used to store resonant power. They served as vessels, and they had a maximum capacity. Once filled, it was hard to deliver power beyond that saturation point. At that time, the only options were to aim for a breakthrough to the next tier, or try to grind and improve that capacity through a long and arduous process. With the second resonant palace, Li Luo's maximum resonant power capacity far exceeded others of his level. Of course, the grade of one's resonance determined the quality of the resonance seed as well. The higher the resonance grade, the better the resonance seed consolidated. Whether in terms of energy absorption or maximum resonant power capacity, quality mattered for the resonance seed. For example, Li Luo estimated that he would have to raise both his acquired resonances to the 7th grade before he could compete against Jiang Qing'e's 9th grade light resonance. Still, it was already an overwhelming advantage. Given enough time and improvement, Li Luo's acquired resonances would come into their full awesome power. "What are you drooling about?" Jiang Qing'e asked impatiently. The corner of Li Luo's mouth had fallen open in a silly smile. He gave her a mysterious smile, then he reached out to take her hand in his own. Not waiting for her response, he channeled green resonant power through his palm. Her golden eyes widened, her lips parting in surprise. "This is wood resonance power. How did this happen?" "Didn't you have a water resonance?" she croaked hoarsely. Li Luo grinned. "Guess?" Her eyes lit up. "You managed a breakthrough. You opened your second resonant palace?" Li Luo pretended to think it over. Sounds good." He did not tell her about his last blank palace. Perhaps she wasn't ready for it yet. She stared at him in wonder. "This is my first time seeing someone with 2 resonant palaces before the Duke stage. Li Luo, I knew you were something special. You might have been a blank palace cultivator, but your rare talent cannot be denied. No one will dare say you've let down your parents now." She broke out into a blissful smile. Li Luo forgot how to breathe for a moment. "Sister Qing'e, I'm so touched," Li Luo said. Jiang Qing'e smiled. "Li Luo, touched is touched, but if you touch my hand again, I'll beat you up." He hurriedly retracted his hand from hers. "Can't the patient get a little benefit?" She shot him a look. She had been here the whole night watching over him. Benefits? Just then, the door was pushed open, and Li Luo saw Ox Biao Biao and his shiny head rush in. He was holding a bowl of piping hot soup. "Young lord, you're awake," he exclaimed happily. Li Luo nodded. "Sorry to make you worry, Uncle Biao." Ox Biao Biao offered the soup with a flourish. "Young lord, you are too frail. Fainting while cultivating. You should eat more." Li Luo dug in heartily. From the first bite, he could feel a wave of heat flush through him. Evidently, Ox Biao Biao had made this especially for him. "Thanks, Uncle Biao," he said gratefully, turning back to the soup. The nourishing ingredients helped him feel a little stronger. Ox Biao Biao bobbed his head smilingly. He reached out a greasy hand and took hold of Li Luo's wrist. "Let Uncle Biao see what's wrong with you." "Sure." Li Luo shrugged. Ox Biao Biao held his hand seriously, seemingly searching for something. After a while, the smile he always wore fell off his face. Both youngsters were shocked by that. There was a moment of quiet surprise, then Ox Biao Biao let go of his hand. He spoke gravely. "Young lord, this is no small matter. This video will end here.